MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker. You are listening to Picks and Pours, episode 46, the segment of the podcast where my buddy Matt the Mechanic brings you his picks for the upcoming UFC fight card. And it's Billy Quarantillo Fight Week right here in Tampa. So before we get into that, let me introduce, with a case of the sniffles after his trip to the tundra of Detroit, Matt the Mechanic. What's going on, Matt?
Hey, what's up, Bill? We made it. We made it through the year. This is the last fight.
Kind of made it. I mean, we missed I might have missed more. I might have missed watching more cards this year than probably my entire fandom of the UFC. I've just been so busy.
Yeah, I mean, I just chalk it up to 2024 being one weird year. We thought 2020 was a weird one, but now we got drones in New Jersey, of all places. What the hell?
Yeah, we got CEOs being assassinated. We got all kinds of stuff going on.
It's
Jay-Z might be going to jail.
That's for another show.
Me in 2002 would be very disappointed to hear that. I was a big Jay-Z fan.
Really? Well, not my cup of tea, but I guess you were up that way, so.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in New York, and also, you know what won me over was when Jay-Z did his Unplugged album with the Roots.
Yeah, I saw that.
And like it showed the actual musicality to the songs, and I really enjoyed that, and that really won me over. I became a Jay-Z fan after that. I can't really say that anymore, but
well, I think Jay-Z's a scumbag, but I like the way he's handling this. Like, look, if you want it, you got to take it to court. We can't just be, there's a lot of this is going on, especially with, I didn't even want to talk about Conor McGregor. He's dealing with the same type of thing, and it's like,
sure,
there's courts for a reason.
Yeah. Although, while we're on the topic, and I don't want to get, we stay away from politics and current events and stuff on here for the most part.
Correct.
But I do have an adjacent story that's a little embarrassing for me, but it's funny, so I'm going to tell it. So it's Elf on a Shelf season. And one of the things I saw on Instagram was basically a snow globe. It's a snow globe you can make where you take a jar and fill it with baby oil, put some white paint in the bottom, and then kid drops an Alka-Seltzer tablet in it, turns it into a snow globe. So I go to Walgreens today to purchase some baby oil. And on my way to the register, I noticed some little stocking stuffer gifts that I wanted to grab, for Christmas. So then here I am standing in line, and in my arms are containers of baby oil and children's gifts. And just with everything going on with Diddy in the news, I just felt really awkward and out of place. And
hey, run that by me again, what the baby oil is for. Oh, the snow globes. Okay.
Yeah. Because you drop the Alka-Seltzer in and the paint floats in the oil.
Did you happen to have any liquor in your arms too?
No. Luckily, the liquor store was next door. So I hadn't gone in there yet. But yeah, here I am online at Walgreens with an armful of baby oil and children's toys, and just hoping I don't run into anybody I know.
Oof.
My luck, it would have been somebody who doesn't even know I have a kid.
Yeah, if you were in the baby business or in the business of baby oil this year, it's a bad year. It's a really bad year.
Yeah. I mean, all kinds of oils are getting bad press.
It's weird. It's weird how news like that can sway brands. Like this CEO got shot, and now every time the news comes on, McDonald's and Starbucks get a shout out.
Why?
Well, because the guy went to. They're telling us that he went and grabbed a granola bar and a latte before he went and shot this guy in the back.
Oh,
at Starbucks, and then he was found by this McDonald's worker. So now every time the news stories ran, McDonald's and Starbucks, like Dunkin' Donuts has got to be pissed.
yeah. I mean, are Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks really competitors? I feel like they have different demographics that
Yeah, I
they
think it's
appeal
kind of
to.
like the our age-old argument about cell phones. Like it's just you're an Apple person or you're an Android person. That's
Yeah.
just the way it is.
I don't think like, oh, that CEO of the healthcare was drinking Starbucks. I'm gonna go drink Starbucks. I think people have already chosen sides there.
Yeah, the same thing works in the pistol world. You know, you're either a Glock person or you're not.
Mm. Hmm.
Yeah. So now if you got this video tagged with every tag word.
Yeah, yeah. Now that I'm definitely on the watch list,
Yeah.
um, let's continue. I guess I'm just waiting for like a picture of me standing in Walgreens to show up on the news, like from their security camera or something.
Check out this weirdo.
We spotted this bearded man buying baby
No, white
oil.
Christian nationalist.
Yeah, buying white cis male buying baby oil and children's toys. Um, in any case, I'll just drink until they come for me. All right. So should we start at the bottom of the card? I was
Yeah, let's start at the bottom.
all right. So right here in Tampa Bay, are you going to be attending this card or not?
No, I've went back and forth. Unless I find like some cheap last minute deal, it's still like $400.
StubHub the day of. I'm telling you, if you go on there like an hour before the event starts, people will start unloading their tickets.
Yeah, but what's the event starts? The main card or the prelims?
Prelims.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did it with a Bucks game last year. Was it last year? Did Tom Brady play last year?
No.
All right. So
Maybe. I don't know.
whenever his last year was, my dad came down to visit and he wanted to go. And it was the Bucks versus the Chiefs. So it was a popular game. The tickets were expensive. So we drove to Tampa and
Yeah,
I
it was
sat.
last year then.
Yeah, I waited till like 15 minutes before kickoff and wound up getting 2 tickets on the 50-yard line for like $75.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see how it goes. I also don't know if I want that to be my first UFC experience. Like, I think I just would rather just do a Vegas weekend.
Yeah.
T-Mobile.
Yeah. Could always do that. Plan it in advance. That way you can build up your expectations and be even more disappointed.
Yeah. And this one, I have a feeling I'm going to be disappointed this weekend.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully it's a good weekend for our buddy Billy Quarantillo, but we'll get to him. So Adrian Yanez kicking off the main card against the undefeated Daniel Marcos. So I don't know a whole lot about young Daniel, but he is Peruvian. So I guess I have to root for him by default. He's got 4 wins in the UFC if you count his Contender Series win. And he's coming off a unanimous decision win over John Castaneda. And Mr. Yanez, as he prefers to be called right now, coming off a TKO victory over Vinicius Salvador. But before that, back-to-back TKO losses. So I got to think Marcos is the favorite here.
Yeah. Minus 218, opposite plus 180.
Okay. Yeah, that's about what I would have put it at. So I wasn't too far off there. I mean, Yanez, tough as hell. More experience in the UFC.
Yeah, but it hasn't been going well for him.
Well, only those 2 fights. He's won every other fight in the UFC. And he's got wins over Davey Grant, who's also on this card. He's got a win over Victor Rodriguez, Randy Costa. And his 2 losses, Rob Font and Jonathan Martinez. So, 2 guys who, have at least tasted the top of the division. But it's your pick. So who you going with?
as good as Yanez is,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make sense. But Marcos is 16-0. I don't really know who he is, so I can't bet against him at that price for not knowing anything. So I'm just going to take Marcos. I feel like that's a pretty safe bet.
Fair enough. All right.
You know,
Moving on.
we've noticed the trend here over the year picking these fights that, like, when you see a guy you don't know who the hell he is fighting somebody pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
we know what the story is.
So the next fight, and yeah, you're right. I agree with you on that. The next fight, Vitor Petrino, who was an absolute killer until he ran into Anthony Smith back in May. So he ran into a guy with a little bit of experience who kind of weathered the storm and caught him in a guillotine choke in the first round. Getting in there with Dustin Jacoby, also very experienced, but has lost 4 of his last 5 fights. So, you know, I'm not a betting man and I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I would think they're trying to set Petrino up for a highlight reel victory here against Jacoby. No disrespect to Dustin Jacoby, but just looking at the record, you know, that's how I would assume this fight was put together. And I assume Petrino's going to be the favorite.
Yeah, big favorite. -310, opposite +250.
Mm-hmm. Which kind of helps my theory out a little bit. So what are you thinking? You think that's the way it's going to play out, or are you going to go underdog here?
I'm going to go underdog here and some more times tonight, but I'm going underdog just because I think you're right on what they're planning on, what they want this fight to be.
Sure.
But I went and watched a couple of Petrino's fights this week, and he makes dumbass decisions. Like, he's really good, but he makes a lot of mistakes. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to take him -310 with the amount of mistakes he makes. And it's end of the year, so let's make some money. +250.
Yeah. Where are we at right now, by
I
the
don't
way?
know. Well, we're just going to next year do better with that. I'll set up an Excel sheet. I'm going to get us an intern.
Oh, that would be nice.
I'm going to make a posting. We'll get an intern. It's not paid. You can live in, like, my closet if you want. You have free access to my internet, but
You get to
I'm going
live
to
in
hire
Matt's
one.
closet.
Yeah.
How can anybody pass this up?
Just hit me up on Instagram.
You got to give the handle.
At Guard Bless. Or just go to MMA on the Rocks and find me. I'm somewhere in there, one of those posts.
All right. So, going with the underdog, Dustin Jacoby. I'm not mad at that. Petrino has shown to show a little bit of difficulty with experienced fighters. So, moving on down the card, and I'm kind of rushing this one to get to our buddy in the co-main event, Manel Cape and Bruno Silva. Manel Cape, he's another one of these guys who came over from Ryzen with so much hype behind him and just kind of fell flat. His UFC debut happened to be against a not so well-known fighter at the time, Alexandre Pantoja, and he was just super passive in that fight. And he did the same thing in his following UFC fight against Mataus Nicolau. Then he started to find his rhythm, and then his last fight with Muhammad Makayev was just awful. I mean, their fight in the hotel lobby or wherever it was better than the actual fight, and he lost a unanimous decision to him. Now he's getting in there with Bruno Silva, who's on a 4-fight win streak. All of them finishes. JP Bays, Victor Rodriguez, Tyson Nam, and Cody Durden finished all of them within 2 rounds. But same thing, had a rough start when he first got into the UFC, dropped his first 2 fights. Well, his first fight was a no contest, and then he lost in a row. So I'm thinking Bruno Silva, probably a slight favorite here.
Bruno Silva is the I think the biggest underdog on the card
Really?
is plus 310. Opposite minus 395.
I mean, Cape is, the more highly touted prospect, I guess. But I
Yeah,
mean,
his last loss, the guy that won got cut from the promotion, which is gotta feel weird. But
yeah,
I'm going with a homeboy, Bruno Silva on this one. Like, I was shocked to see that. Even before I talked about it, I went back and just double checked to make sure.
yeah, that the odds were correct. Okay.
I mean, that, unless they know something we don't.
I mean, I don't know. Who knows what the odds makers know that we don't. All right. Let's just get to the fight I'm most excited to talk about and a little bit nervous to talk about even. Co-main event. Cub Swanson taking on the local boy, Billy Quarantillo, the adopted local boy. Really a Western New York native. Grew up just outside of Buffalo.
Yeah, we're all adopted local boys.
Yeah, pretty much. There's not a lot of natives in the Tampa Bay area. But for all intents and purposes, he's the local hometown fighter going into battle in the co-main event against one of the most experienced guys in the promotion, Cub Swanson. The guy, I mean, he's been there, done that. Fought in the WEC dating back to 2007. And the WEC was then acquired by the UFC sometime in 2011, I want to say. So he's basically been fighting for the UFC since 2007, which was probably before Billy Quarantillo started fighting.
Yeah, he said he said that he remembered like being a fan of Cub before he even started training. I like Cub's response. He's like, "What the hell are you talking about? You're not that young either. You're 36."
Yeah. Yeah, but I think Billy got kind of a late start. Because I think he's been training like 12 years now or so.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably true that he saw a Cub before he started training, but
Yeah.
it's not a good argument. Oh, he's so old. Well, you're not the youngest either.
Oh, was he saying it to like put him down? Or was
I
he
don't
just
know.
saying like
I
out?
don't know. No, they've both in both interviews they seem pretty cordial, but
Okay.
Cub Swanson knows how to talk shit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Cub's done his research. He's a professional. So both of these guys, fan favorites. Both of them have dropped 2 of their last 3. So Billy, unfortunately, was submitted for the first time in his professional career in his last fight against Yusuf Zalal. Before that, he had a unanimous decision win over Damon Jackson. And before that was the Edson Barbosa fight, which didn't go his way, obviously. Cub Swanson coming off a split decision loss to Andre Feely. Then had a win over Hakeem Dawodu and suffered a TKO loss to Jonathan Martinez via leg kicks. I would think that Billy's a slight favorite here.
155.
Minus 155?
Yep.
And what's Cub Swanson?
Plus 130.
Okay. So it's pretty close, but yeah, I would have definitely predicted that Billy would be the favorite. He's the hometown guy. He's got, he does have 5 years on Cub, and at this stage of life, 5 years makes a big difference. Yeah. So I mean, which way are you going here?
No, I mean, I'm taking Billy. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But
I mean, we got to be team
we do
Q
have to
here.
deal with that first round. And then, I don't know if this is sacrilegious to bring up, but Cub Swanson by TKO in round 1 is plus 800.
Yeah, I mean, historically, Billy has a tough time in the first round. You know, we all know this. You know, you guys know he's a friend of the show. He's a friend of ours, and he tends to get off to a rough start. And then, you know, in true Billy Q fashion, he just puts a pace on guys that they can't keep up with. And that's going to be his key to victory against a 41-year-old Cub Swanson. You know, weather whatever storm Cub brings in that first round. But then again, Cub is such a veteran, you know, he's probably done his research and he'll probably know not to blow all his energy in that first round. So maybe he tries to pace himself and outpoint Billy.
It could have a real good fight. I mean, this could be a really good. It should be a really good fight because they both want to fight. It's just, it's the same thing for every Billy Q fight. It's like, hey man, just chill in the first round a little bit. But what the fuck do I know? That's his. It's his thing.
Yeah, it seems to just be his thing. Like he needs to get roughed up a little bit to wake up.
Yeah.
You know, that's just what
That's
has
the way
worked.
he does it.
That's just the way, you know, that's just what works for him. And if you're a fan of Billy Q, it stresses the fuck out of you. But, you know, you got to just trust that he's doing what he needs to do in there. You know, he needs to take a couple of licks to get the juices flowing, and then, you know, once he turns it on, he's indestructible. You know, even in the Barbosa fight, I mean, he was looking so clean on the feet. It wasn't until he attempted to go in for the takedown that he ran into some trouble. But, you know, he was piecing Barbosa up on the feet. And Cub Swanson, you know, his key to victory is just experience, right? I mean, he's been in there with the best fighters in the world for years, basically as long as he's been doing this. I mean, if you look at his resume, he's fought Max Holloway, Frankie Edgar, Jeremy Stevens, Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, Ricardo Lamas, Chad Mendes, Jose Aldo. I mean, you know, the who's who of the featherweight division.
Yeah, Billy's not going to bring something that Cub hasn't saw before.
Yeah. Brian Ortega, Duho Choi, which the fight with Duho Choi is one of my favorite fights I've ever seen. But, you know, Billy's coming in there with a ton of UFC experience himself. I mean, he's been affiliated with the UFC since Ultimate Fighter season 22, which was the season Conor McGregor hosted or coached against Uriah Faber, which was a long ass time ago. You know, he didn't get picked that season, but then came back to win the Contender Series in 2019 and went on a pretty good tear after that.
Yeah, and he's in a co-main event, so that's good.
Now this will be his 11th official UFC fight. So, and he gets to do it here in Tampa, where he's going to have so much support. I mean, there's going to be 1,000 people in that arena rooting for Billy Q. I mean, he's really like a bit of a legend in this part of the country. You know, he's got his own gym in Tampa now. So I'm sure all the members of his gym are going to be out supporting him. All the members of Gracie Tampa South.
Well, yeah, but can you think of a more Tampa fighter than Billy Q? We don't have one.
No, we don't. No, he's the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy. We're putting it all on his shoulders. So, you know, obviously we're pulling for our boy Billy here. So hopefully he goes out and is able to put on a show and get his hand raised in that order. All right, let's move on to the main event, which this fight was kind of like, it kind of surprised me when it came together. Do you know where Joaquin Buckley is in the rankings?
No.
I'm going to look that up real quick. But yeah, it seemed like Colby Covington must have been backed into a corner or something, because it seemed like for the longest time he wasn't going to fight anybody that wasn't like up in the rankings. So Covington is number 6 right now. Buckley's 9. Okay, Buckley's a little higher than I thought. But I don't know. It makes sense to have Colby headline a card in Florida, because he's, he lives in Miami now. I mean, he's an Oregon boy at heart, but lives in Miami now. This card was originally supposed to be Buckley and Ian Gary, right?
Yes.
And then they moved Ian Gary to last week to fight Rakhmonov when Bilal Muhammad pulled out.
Yeah.
Am I getting all that correct? So then in comes Colby Covington. Not really last minute, but not really
like 4 weeks.
Yeah. Not really planned ahead. We know Colby's always in shape. What was Buckley saying? He's like, Buck doesn't get to fight the cuck.
Yeah.
Something like that. Which, okay. I need to mention this real quick. I need to backpedal since I didn't do an episode on Sunday. I need to talk about Ian Gary and Rakhmonov and their fight. So Ian Gary has all this stuff about his wife and her ex-husband, right? There's all kinds of drama about that stuff.
Yeah, I think it's settled down though.
Yeah.
I mean, Colby Covington's going to use it, but.
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely. Especially if they fight. Colby's gonna be digging up stuff from years ago. But and I don't really care about all this shit, okay? But supposedly there's some kind of love triangle with Ian Gary's wife and her ex-husband, and they all still live together or something. I don't know. But then Ian Gary walks out to the song Layla by Eric Clapton, which is a song that was written about a man being in love with another man's wife. Eric Clapton was in love with George Harrison from the Beatles. He was in love with his wife and wound up having an affair with her and marrying her. So, like, I'm wondering, is he just trolling, or does he just love that song?
I think he probably loves the song and doesn't even know what it's about.
That's possible.
I bet most people don't know that.
Well, that's why I'm here.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Eric Clapton wrote that song about George Harrison's wife, and the character Layla, the name Layla, comes from some, I think, some Greek poem about, some type of marital affair, something like that. But yeah, he wrote that song about her, and it wasn't even like a weird thing at the time. It was just like, it was the 70s. They were very hippie-ish, and it's like, all right, here, have my
There's
wife.
a lot of weird ass songs from back in the day.
Oh yeah, well, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
And he wrote a song called Cocaine too. That was a big as well.
What's that song by the Stones? Brown Sugar. Look at the lyrics of that one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they were all high as fuck. The Beatles too.
Yeah.
When they wrote that Sgt. Pepper's album, they were tripping balls.
That's the weird thing with the Beatles is, for some reason, that doesn't come through. Like all the other guys in the 70s, you're like, yeah, these are druggies. For some reason, the Beatles music doesn't. I never linked that in my head until much later in life.
Really?
I didn't get that part.
Even as a kid, you didn't think somebody was high on drugs when they wrote "I Am the Walrus"?
Yeah, now looking back, that was pretty stupid. But I don't know. It's always had a nice haircut, so I thought they were like nice gentlemen.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they're I mean, they were from Liverpool, so they were kind of like more.
But the music, it's kind of lighthearted, so you think they're good boys. Not that at that time that music was like not like controversial or
Yeah.
pushing
I
the
mean,
limits. Now it sounds like what makes you want to buy a Buick or something.
yeah, like very happy-go-lucky. All right. So Covington and Buckley. So Buckley in his last fight against Wonder Boy, he showed a little bit of wrestling, and he got the big knockout over Wonder Boy in the third round. That was in October. Colby Covington hasn't fought since December, so it's been almost a year since he's fought, and that was the loss to Leon Edwards. Now, here's the thing. This is a 5-round fight, right?
Yep.
Cardio-wise, I have to favor Colby Covington here. Like, if this goes the full 5 rounds, I know Covington's going to have an edge here because he's the only one of the two that's gone 5 rounds, and we know he can go 5 rounds with a full tank of gas. The wrestling edge obviously goes to Colby, but Buckley's a big dude, and he's going to be hard to take down, and he does not accept takedowns very well. Now, knockout power, there's a huge, huge advantage for Joaquin Buckley. So Colby does a pretty good job for the most part of not taking big shots. He does get hit, but he rolls with punches a lot. And considering how many minutes he's had in the octagon, he has been able to avoid a lot of big shots. Now, and I don't believe he's ever been knocked out. I mean, there was the Usman fight that was stopped, but, he wasn't like unconscious. And I think a lot of that is attributed to he doesn't cut a lot of weight and his cardio is really good, which will improve your chin. Now, this fight, he's going in there with probably the hardest hitter he's ever been in there with, except for maybe Leon Edwards. And he's
No,
going.
I'd say Joaquin's bigger. Remember, Joaquin used to fight at 185.
That's true. He's bigger, but Leon Edwards hits hard. I mean, he has also fought Robbie Lawler.
What do you
But
think the odds are?
I gotta think Colby's a favorite, but he's probably not.
Plus 220.
And how big of a favorite is Buckley?
Minus 270.
I mean, look, on paper, Colby takes him down and holds him down for 25 minutes. But he's got to avoid those big knockout punches and kicks for 25 minutes. So
yeah, I mean, obviously round 1 and 2 are my big concern. My other concern is that Colby seems to get injured early in fights recently. He fucked up his foot on the last one, and I think something about his back and the one before that. But I mean, I'm going to take Colby plus 220.
Yeah. I mean,
my boy. It's a nice guy, by the way.
He's creeping up on 40 years old, and that'll happen. You just get hurt, right?
Yeah. I just hope he's healthy. If he does stick to his game plan, I don't think Joaquin's going to be able to keep up with him, but it might not last long enough to make that be a problem.
Yeah. I mean, this one could be over quick, or like, I don't think Colby finishes Buckley.
No way.
I just don't see, unless Buckley just gets so exhausted he can't defend himself. And then, the referee has to step in. I don't think we're going to see a submission in this one. I don't think we're even going to see a submission attempt.
Colby to win by decisions plus 330.
Okay.
So get 120 points there.
I mean, that's how he wins.
Yeah.
I don't see it like
unless the only way Colby gets a stoppage is like Joaquin completely gasses.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've never seen Joaquin Buckley in a 5-round fight. So how's he going to look in those 4th and 5th rounds?
Yeah, but we never see the guys completely gas. I mean, no, Colby's not going to win by stoppage.
Did you ever see Kimbo Slice and Dada 5000?
Joaquin Buckley's in much better shape than Kimbo Slice, and I don't know who it is, but some guy named Dada 5000.
Yeah, it was like they went back to like the street beef days, and they made that fight in Bellator, and supposedly Dada 5000's heart stopped twice during the fight because he was so exhausted.
Okay, well that's not going to happen to Joaquin.
And I think he won.
Which I happen to be a Joaquin Buckley fan. I like the way the guy seems to act. He's funny.
Yeah,
exciting fighter.
I like the way he carries himself. Like when he trolled everybody and had that Detroit self-defense tactics guy in his corner.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. And he's one of the most explosive strikers in the UFC right now. I mean, his knockout of Impa Kasangane 3 years ago, or whenever that was, is still that clip lives rent-free in my head forever. When Impa caught that kick and Buckley just hit that spinning back kick into his face, that was unbelievable. Like you couldn't script that.
I think it was even getting tweeted by like the big superstars. That had to be such a crazy night for him.
Yeah, to
go from nothing to.
Yeah, it made the ESPN like top 10 plays of the week or whatever that is, which the UFC rarely gets highlighted in. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Buckley as well. And I like Colby Covington as a fighter. I don't really care for his shtick, and like sometimes it's funny and amusing, and other times I see a clip of him being interviewed and I just like scroll right past. Like I don't know.
Yeah, his that shtick sucks. Like it sucks that he has to act like that, but he's a boring fighter. So yeah. I mean, it is what it is, and I don't. People are calling him racist this week because he said Bilal his toe got damaged by the exploding pager. But I mean,
jeez. Yeah, I mean, but whatever. I mean, he knows how to tick.
But also Bilal Muhammad's the champion. He's a bad dude. He's not upset. He's not. Sometimes I think that fans forget that these are fighters and they're tough, and they also understand if I can figure out that Colby's just playing a character, those guys have to know it too. Like,
yeah, but I think people secretly, they play along, they mark out for it, Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of them don't want to. They're like, no, he's really an asshole. Like, come on. Are you stupid?
No, he's not an asshole.
You can't tell the guy's playing an act.
And also, it's playing the heel doesn't work if you lose a lot. He's been losing a lot, so it doesn't work right.
Yeah, which is why he's had to tone it down a little bit.
I mean, not really. He said Bilal Muhammad got blown up by a pager.
That's true. I did not see that, but I'll have to check that out. But yeah. Okay, so fun main card. And I was thinking about this before we were getting started. Like, do I think objectively that our friend Billy Quarantello should be the co-main event of this card? And After looking it up and down, I think I can say yes, he does deserve that spot.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's
I
no
think.
no. There's
Well,
no way any who else would it be?
nobody. It couldn't be anybody on this card.
Oh, there's a point I wanted to make about Colby. I think Colby was the first person to be contacted about the Bilal situation, and I think he sees something in Buckley that he can, and he chose Buckley to fight. And okay, Gary can go fight.
Hmm. Why, you think he had the option to fight Ian Gary?
Oh yeah, no, he had the option to fight Rachmanov.
Oh, okay. Well, after seeing Rachmanov grapple against Ian Gary, I think Colby Covington now grapples him. Now,
Yeah,
I don't think he can. I don't necessarily think he could beat him in a fight, but I think his
no,
grappling.
well, yeah. What I'm more talking about is I think Colby is more confident he can beat Buckley.
Oh, sure, sure. And if he can't, then it's time to hang it up, probably. Like,
You think? What did you say? He's ranked 6?
yeah, but he doesn't have, and I believe he doesn't have a win over a current top 15 fighter. And no, he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going well, but I mean, I don't think. I mean, Cub
The,
Swanson's fighting at 41. I mean, hang it up. I mean, he can
the
keep
only
fighting.
true, but
I mean, no matter what happens, he's still going to be in the top 15.
right. But who's he gonna fight?
Anybody.
I mean,
Unless he has enough money to just walk. I mean, that would be great too. I would.
if he loses, the only fights that really make sense. I mean, Ian Gary's coming off a loss, so there's that. Wonder Boy is
Wonder
kind of
Boy be a
making.
good one.
Yeah.
I think they haven't fought before. Now that I think about it.
No, they haven't. And so the only guys in the top 15 that Colby Covington has fought are Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman, and he's lost to both of them.
Wonder Boy, Colby Covington will be a great fight.
Gilbert Burns could be a good fight. Colby Covington and Gilbert Burns. Maybe Jeff Neal. Yeah, I guess there are some fights for him there. But, the problem is, he's built this character and this shtick, right? But it's like, how do you keep that up when
Well, you do exactly what he does. He did
just leans
this
into
whole
it?
last year. Well, you just lean into it a couple weeks before the fight. Rest of the year, just radio silence.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, real quick, I want to go over some interesting prelims here. Michael Johnson and Otman Azaitar. I like this fight a lot. That should be a fun one. This was supposed to be our other buddy, Matt Steamroller Frivola, fighting Michael Johnson. Not on this card, but it was supposed to happen, a few weeks or a few months ago. I don't. The timelines are kind of blurry to me right now, but I like this. Steamroller knocked out Azaitar. Otman Azaitar, famous for, remember during COVID in Abu Dhabi?
Potato.
Yeah, when he was supposed
potatoes?
to. Yeah, well, that's what
Bullshit.
he claims. They caught him climbing out of his
Fucking
balcony
potatoes.
in Abu Dhabi and climbing into another hotel room with a duffel bag, and he said it was just full of potatoes.
What are you gonna do? Just fucking chomp it? Like, what can you do in a hotel room with potatoes?
It wasn't potatoes. It was probably IVs and some other illegal substances. But I like that fight a lot. Zaitar is a really good boxer, but Michael Johnson, even as long as he's been doing this, he still has crazy fast hands. So I look forward to that fight. Drakkar Klose, I always like watching fight. He's fighting Joel Alvarez. And then Sean Woodson, I'm surprised to see on the prelims because this guy is so interesting. And he's fighting Fernando Padilla. And I like this fight a lot. Woodson on a 3-fight win streak. Before that, he had a draw with Luis Saldana and then won 2 fights before that. So he's only got 1 loss, and it was to Julian Erosa, who, is a really tough veteran. So I was surprised to see Sean Woodson on the prelims here.
It's because he's got a weird rib cage.
Yeah, he does. He looks like one of the bugs from Men in Black. Remember the little bugs that would be in the coffee room?
Yeah.
And they had like the really long torsos.
Yep.
Yeah, Sean Woodson. But he knows how to use that long ass torso really well. Like he's good at using
Oh
his
yeah, he
dick.
can fight. Didn't he used to have long hair or afro looking thing?
No, I think he's always been bald. But 6'2" at 145 is crazy.
Yeah.
And then Miles Johns, another guy that's like, was a hot prospect for a while. He's on the prelims. He's fighting Felipe Lima. Davey Grant, who I always enjoy watching fight, is on the prelim as well against Ramon Tavares. And that's really it.
The first fight's a great one.
This Josephine Lindgren Knudsen against Piero Rodriguez.
Never heard of him.
Well, Knudsen is 8-0. So she might be somebody to watch.
Oh, her thumbnail just doesn't do good. She needs to get that changed.
Yeah, it does look like kind of a dated picture. So she's from Stockholm, Sweden. 3-0 in the UFC if you count the Contender Series. But pretty much she's 8-0, but only 1 finish. So.
Yeah, did you see this Global Fight League launch today?
No.
So there's a new promotion, like we need one. And it's a team-based competition. And there will be a draft. There'll be 6 teams. And it'll be like name and city. So like the Tampa, whatever. We don't know who's going to get the teams. The draft is scheduled. How do you like this so far?
Terrible.
So the draft is on the January 29th. Okay, they have 92 signed fighters. 45 of them are former UFC fighters. I'm just going to name the big boys to include Tyron Woodley, Anthony Pettis, Benson Henderson, Gegard Mousasi, Wanderlei Silva, Frank Mir, Andre Arlovski, Kevin Lee, Fabricio Verdum, and Junior Dos Santos.
Wait, this is MMA?
Yes.
All those guys are going to fight?
Yeah.
Wanderlei Silva's going to fight?
Those are the big names of the 300 fighter. I guess you're going to draft a team, and those names I just named are some of the names that are going in the draft. Now there's tons of other names we know. Alan Belcher. I mean, you have to check it out. The list. Everybody. It looks like they went and got Greg Hardy, Phil Hawes. I said Felipe Lins.
Okay, at least those are all guys that have fought recently.
Frank Mir, Marlon Moraes. I mean, it's a shitload of people on
Frank
there.
Mir.
Yeah. Lance Palmer. The guy from the Paul Harris. Remember Paul Harris?
So, like, all right. These guys, first of all, these guys are all on all of the steroids. Have you seen Frank Mir lately?
Yeah.
He just looks like a billboard for HGH.
The money seems to be coming from this guy.
Alan Belcher fought at middleweight in the UFC. And, he was always in shape, but he had, just never had a ripped physique. Now he's a heavyweight in BKFC, and he's fucking jacked. And he's like probably close to my age.
So listen to this. Similar to the PFL, it's really going well over there. The GFL has a point system for regular season fights. A finish victory notches the fighter's team 4 points. A decision wins the team 3 points, and draw 2 points. A decision loss earns 1 point, and a loss by finish walk away with 0 points. So they're taking the PFL strategy that's not fucking working, and somehow signed what's his name, the Sage Northcutt today. Now we're going to add another layer of the points in a team, and it's going to work.
So not only are they taking that from the PFL, but this has been tried before. There was something called the IFL back in the day. It existed when WEC was around. And this was a team thing as well. It would be like 6 guys from this team, the saber-toothed tigers or whatever against the Timberwolves or whatever they call themselves, against 6 guys from another team. And what they tried to do was pay the fighters a salary. So they had guaranteed money. And what happened was the fighters would pull out the day of the fight because they knew they were getting a paycheck regardless.
Well, the way this is set up is it said that it's 50-50. The promotion gets 50, the fighters get 50. But I'm just seeing more names. Luke Rockhold. And that's great if you make money, but they probably won't make money. Hector Lombard.
50% of nothing is nothing. Fuck.
Man, I hope it works because there's potential of some pretty cool fights. Jeremy Stevens.
You know what I would like if they did better? If they just did just call it what it is. Like, we're going to put a fight league together where we let all these retired big name fighters take whatever the fuck steroids they want, and we're going to let them fight. And it's going to be nostalgic. It's going to be violent. And they're all going to be injected with shit right before they go out there, like fucking Bane. And
that seems to be what they're doing here.
Let's just call it that, though. Forget the teams, forget the point system. It's roided up, retired MMA stars fighting to the death.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the point system's dumb.
Yes.
We don't care. We don't need a season. We don't need.
The team thing is dumb too. Let's get rid of that shit.
And if we want to have an old fart league, we don't even need a champion either. We just want to have good fights.
No. Yeah. Like,
nobody needs to be fighting in championship rounds.
Like,
it's just
if you told me like, oh, the Washington Bumblebees drafted Frank Mir and he's gonna fight Alan Belcher, who's fighting for the fucking Nebraska Thimbles, like. But if you told me, listen, Bill, remember Frank Mir? They're gonna inject him with so many steroids, and they're gonna put him in there against Alan Belcher, who's gonna be injected.
6 months in Tijuana before this fight.
Yeah, I'd be like, fuck yes, let me watch that. But just the fact that they're like, yeah, we're gonna have a team, we're gonna draft fighters, they're gonna win.
They're gonna have a mascot. Like, how stupid is this?
Wear jerseys, yeah. The mascot is gonna jump through a flaming octagon at halftime.
And then are these poor fighters gonna have to move to whatever town is under Orlovsky? Have to move to Portland to fight for the bean roasters.
The Portland bean roasters. Who's your favorite fight team?
Oh yeah, this is a weird thing. Maybe that's what the UFC does. That's why they work. Is it just fights? It's just fights.
The Delaware Bidens. We're gonna get Joe Biden. We're gonna inject him with steroids, and we're gonna put him in a cage fight. All right, I'm watching. I don't care what fucking team he's on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be watching this if these events happen. I'll watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I probably will too.
Other than that, the news. Only other news that's this week is I guess Taporia, like he was talking about wanting to fight Islam, and it looks like he doesn't care about fighting Islam. He's just gonna vacate and move up.
Really?
Yeah, he says he'll take a fight with Charlie Oliveira.
I did see that he wants to fight Oliveira. I didn't see that it meant he was going to vacate the title.
Yeah, he's just. I guess he doesn't want to make 155 or 145 anymore, and he just move up.
Okay.
Which I support. That's not. I like that better than I'm going to be a double champ. He's just like, I'm good. I'm going to go up a weight class.
Yeah, I like that too. I hope Max Holloway goes up as well. All right. So this whole time I've been sneaking little pours of this lovely bottle right here. This is Bardstown Bourbon Company Origin Series Rye. And this thing's phenomenal. It's a really high rye mash bill, 95% rye, 5% malted barley. But the interesting thing about this, and I know you're not a big cherry guy, Matt, but I am, and I love cherry notes in whiskey. So what they did was most whiskey is aged in oak barrels, right? And the reason is that oak is a hard wood. It's not as porous as some other woods. So you can age it in those barrels for a long time. People have tried to use cherry wood before, but it's too soft, too porous. So what they did was they aged this rye in oak barrels, and then they transfer it to a barrel that's half cherry, half oak. So every other stave, the staves are just, the pieces of wood that form the barrel. Every other stave is oak and every other stave is cherry. So then they finish it in that. And I mean, if you're a fan of a Manhattan cocktail, which is very cherry forward, it's a lot of people pour a little black cherry juice in the cocktail to finish it off. This would make a fantastic Manhattan cocktail.
If cherry wood's porous, then how do they do it if it just leaks out? Because that's what porous means.
Yeah, well, so it's not the fact that it's porous, it's the fact that the wood is soft. So when the barrel flexes with heat and stuff, the seams would open. So the fact that they have oak kind of reinforcing every other stave, and then they also don't age it a long time in there. They're just finishing it in there.
Oh.
So it holds together long enough just to draw out some of the sugars from the wood, and some of those flavors. But it doesn't have to be in there a long time.
I wonder why they just don't throw some hunks of cherry in the damn barrel, in the damn oak barrel.
Yeah, so that's a strategy that a lot of companies are using as well. So Maker's Mark is big on that. So what they'll do is they'll age stuff in an oak barrel, and then partway through they'll string a bunch of staves together. They put 15 staves, and they just put it right in the middle of the barrel. So they have different types of wood, and then they have different types of char, and they basically create like an unlimited number of flavor profiles based on that, because you have, I think, 11 different types of wood to select from, and then you have char levels. So the combinations, there's thousands, and that's how they do their single barrel profile. You can pick, like, of the 15 staves that go in there to finish the aging process, you can pick, from these types of woods and what level of char you want on them. And then you can create like your own unique flavor profile of Maker's Mark.
I'll take your word for it. I have, like, bourbon for me has like 3 different flavors. I don't understand
Yeah. It's interesting. And it even my wife, after this Kentucky trip, she she was able to learn a lot on these distillery tours. And now, like, I gave her a pour of this earlier, and she took a sip and she was like, "That's a high rye." And she was able to
And it made you hard, right?
yeah. Never been so attracted to her. Like, yeah, you nailed it. Especially since she was like, "Why don't we do a shot before the winter concert?"
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's the kind of thing, like, you're probably never thinking about it. You just drink what you like.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, like this is Heaven Hill. I like this, or this is, Fireball. I don't like this. Whatever.
Yeah, but I also definitely notice the difference between quality stuff and not quality. Like, I just don't. I like good, like not shit bourbon that just tastes good to me.
Yeah, and
but also if it's good bourbon and it doesn't taste good to me, I'll just put some Coke in it and we'll be good.
yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, there's hardly anything I've run into that I'm like will go to waste in my house. But I like so many different things. I'm all over the map with stuff. And then, I love scotch and everything else. And I know this guy, he's like, he's part of the local kids group. Like, he has a kid our daughter's age, and he's like, "Yeah, I love Four Roses single barrel. It's all I drink." And I'm like, kind of like envious of that guy, because all he has to do is go to the liquor store, grab his Four Roses single barrel, and he's like, "All right, this is what I'm drinking." And he just leaves it. I go to the liquor store and I'm looking at everything and I'm thinking about what they don't have. I'm like, should I go to another liquor store? It's a problem. In any case, I posted my first distillery tour video on YouTube, and it was the Old Forester tour. So what I've been doing, Matt, is basically taking 2-minute compilations of every distillery we went to and just narrating over the 2-minute highlight, and I'm going to be posting a series of 2-minute distillery tours. And we also stopped at one brewery. So I'm going to be posting those videos, and then I'll be also posting an overall recap of the full itinerary of the Bourbon Trail trip. So keep an eye out for those of you who tune in that are whiskey connoisseurs. Those are going to be posted sporadically whenever I get around to editing them. But the Old Forester one is up on YouTube, so go ahead and check that out.
Sweet.
All right. Anything else you want to get off your chest?
Nope.
All right. UFC Tampa, or UFC on ESPN 63, this Saturday, December 14th, at the Amalie Arena, the home of the Tampa Bay Lightning, where we hope to watch our buddy Billy Quarantillo put on a show for the hometown crowd. And that's all we got. So until next time, cheers, everybody. Goodbye.